Chapter 4 Major Landforms. Let's learn mountains, plateaus, plains, deserts, islands, and rivers. We know that the surface of the earth is made of both land and water. Nearly 71% of Earth's surface is covered with water and the remaining 29% is land mass. The seven continents make up the landmass and the five oceans, along with other water bodies, comprise water. The surface of the earth is uneven. There are different types of landforms like the mountains, plains, plateaus, islands, and deserts. These are also known as relief features. We shall study about them in this chapter. Mountains. Mountains are uplifted portions of the earth's surface which are much higher in contrast to the surrounding areas. It is a landform that rises at least 900 meters above sea level. They rise up as the earth crust collides, cracks, crumbles, folds, and spews. These mighty chunks rise all over the world, including the oceans. They usually have steep, sloping sides and sharp or rounded ridges. The highest point of a mountain is called its peak or summit. The height and shape of a mountain depends on its age. Himalayan mountains are young and hence have high peaks and conical peaks, unlike the much older Aravallis, which are low and have rounded peaks. A mountain range is a series or chain of mountains that are close together. Andean mountains in South America and alpine mountains in Europe are examples of mountain ranges. Mountainous regions have very scarce population. This may be due to thin soil cover because of which agriculture cannot be practiced on large scale. Apart from that, the climate is also not favorable, and transportation is difficult in these areas. Nevertheless, mountains are useful to us in many ways. Many rivers originate from the mountains. This water source is used for irrigation and domestic use by the people living in these regions as well as the plains below. The mountains act as a barrier against the hot and cold winds. The weather at these altitudes remains cool even in summers, which attracts many tourists. The slopes have rich pastures and forest cover.
The mountainous rocks are used widely as a building material.
They are home to many plants and animals and are therefore a rich biodiversity spot. Info Hive. Volcanic mountains are formed when molten rock from deep inside the earth erupts through the crust and piles up on itself. Brain tickler. Why is terrace farming practiced in mountains? Plateaus. A plateau is a flat area of land that is elevated above sea level. It is also called a tableland. Sides of a plateau are steep and the surface is often cut by rivers and streams. Deccan Plateau of India is a large plateau. The largest and highest plateau in the world is the Tibetan Plateau in South Central Asia, which is a flat valley floor at about 15,000 feet above sea level, rimmed on the south by the Himalayas. The Colorado Plateau in the USA borders the Colorado River which cuts the Grand Canyon. The mines in the plateau regions are a source of income for the people living there. The grasslands of the plateau regions are used for rearing cattle. Plains. Plains, also called the lowlands, are flat and low-lying areas which are thickly populated. This land is fertile and best suited for cultivation. Most of the plains are formed by rivers. For instance, The Great Plains of northern India were formed by the sediments brought down by the Indus Ganga Brahmaputra and their tributaries, and it is popularly known as the Indo-Ganga Brahmaputra Plain. As a river floods, it overflows its banks. The flood carries mud, sand, and other sediments out over the land. After the water draws away, the sediment remains. Repeated flooding of rivers over time enables the sediment to build up into a floodplain. Floodplains are often rich in nutrients. They create fertile plains. Plains are flat lands, and therefore cities and towns and major industries are established in this region. Deserts. Regions with barren land and scanty rainfall are called deserts. They have an arid or semi-arid climate. Due to scarcity of water, vegetation is very sparse. Days are hot with very high temperatures and nights are cold. Sandstorms are quite frequent and sand dunes and sand hills can be seen. The Sahara Desert of Africa is the largest desert in the world. Most deserts are located on the western side of the continents or the leeward side of mountains. Thar Desert and Arabian Desert of Asia, Atacama Desert of South America, and Kalahari Desert of Africa are some deserts of the world. People in deserts lead a simple life, tending herds of sheep, goats, and camels. They are nomadic people who do not possess permanent houses and move from one place to another. Some regions are developed and have modern standards of living. Plants with less water requirement are able to survive in deserts, and animals generally estivate during summers to escape heat. Islands. An island is a piece of land surrounded by water. Many islands are quite small, covering less than half a hectare. These tiny islands are often called islets. Some islands, such as the Lutean Islands in the US state of Alaska, are cold and ice-covered all year. Others, such as Tahiti, lie in warm tropical waters. Rivers. Rivers are a source of fresh water. They are formed by rain or the melting of snow from mountains to the plains. These channels start as streams that join to form a river. Typically, a river can be divided into three sections: the upper course, the middle course, and the lower course. The upper course of the river is the closest to the source. The gradient is steep. The river is narrow, shallow, and flows quickly. V-shaped valleys, rapids, canyons, and waterfalls are some features of the upper course of a river. In the middle course, the river reaches the plains. The speed decreases and the valley widens. The river develops loops called meanders. In their lower course, most rivers end and flow into a large body of water like a sea or an ocean. At the mouth or end of the river, there is usually a river delta, a large silting area where the river splits into many different slow-flowing channels that have muddy banks. Info Hive. Barrier islands are narrow and lie parallel to coastlines. They act as barriers between the ocean and the mainland. Recap. Mountains are uplifted portions of the Earth's surface which are much higher in contrast to the surrounding areas. A plateau is a flat area of land that is elevated above sea level. Plains or the lowlands are flat and low-lying areas which are thickly populated. Regions with barren land and scanty rainfall are called deserts. An island is a piece of land surrounded by water. Rivers are a source of fresh water and are formed by the melting of snow or by rain. Values for life. People living in different landforms use whatever natural resources they have been blessed with and successfully survive even in very inhospitable regions. Learn the art of making wise use of the means that are at your disposal and strive to prosper while conserving the environment at the same time.